Welcome back to another beautiful day in the land of music. My name is Douglas, and in today's video, I wanted to give you a quick start tutorial on the Nord Piano 6. Now, whether you're looking to pick this up, just trying to learn about it, you want to hear some of its sounds, or you already have bought this, maybe it's arriving as these start to ship out, and you're curious, how do I use what I've got here on the panel? I'm going to walk you through that. I'm going to have some other videos where I dive deeper into the piano section, sample synth, layer effects, and some of the functionality like splitting, live mode, and things like that in upcoming videos. So if you haven't subscribed, you want to stay tuned to those, feel free to do that. I'm going to jump right into this, play you some sounds along the way. This one is the A41, at least on this piano version, and it's called the Soft Grand. It's actually leveraging the Soft Grand that we have here in our piano section. So let's start over on the left. I'm going to walk you quickly through this and show you how to select sounds, get started using the Piano 6. So the main concept behind the Piano 6 are these layers. So we have 2 layers in the piano section, 2 layers in the sample synth section. And one thing that you'll notice is it's very segmented. There's a lot of knobs and buttons on the control surface, but that's really where the majority of your adjustments and your tweaks are going to be. Very little here in the menu. So that segmented approach means that anything related to our pianos is over here in this piano section. Anything sample synth related is going to be here. All of our effects are over here. And then things like splitting, transposing, all of that is right here in the center. This is where we end up picking our programs. So programs on the Piano 6 are saved instances of everything you see here. Layers, splits, all of those settings, effects, all of that is saved to what's called a program. Within our Piano 6, we have banks, which are letters. So this letter A is the bank. Then we have pages within those banks, the 4, and then we have programs within those pages. So as I scroll through here, you'll notice that there are 6 programs to each page. And these correspond with the 6 buttons underneath the screen. So I can select the programs in my page here. I can also scroll with my encoder to the right of the screen, and I can change pages by tapping on these forward and back buttons underneath the program encoder, or I can hold Shift to jump the lettered banks. So very quickly, we can move around. Let's say I want to go to C, I want to go to page 3, and I want to select program 3. And we can move through our program. So the programs on the Nord Piano 6 are seamless sound switching. So as I move from program to program, no cutting of the sound. Even the sustain pedal is going to continue. So if I'm holding the sustain pedal on my first program, move to another one, it's going to be sustained for the next program I go to. There are oftentimes keyboards that have seamless sound switching, but one thing I've found is that the sustain pedal generally doesn't carry over, which is a huge deal. So if I'm playing, sustaining, and move to the next one, and I've got the sustain pedal held in my head, I want that next sound to be held. The Nord Piano 6 does that, which is pretty amazing. So I love that about it. Again, we can switch between our programs with the buttons under the screen. We can scroll with the encoder, but we can also hold Shift and scroll with our encoder to get to our list view. Within here, we can sort by program number. We can sort by ABC, which is going to be our program name sorting. And then we can also hold down on category. We can scroll between our different categories. So let's say we wanted lead. When we let go of this category button, we can scroll through the different lead sounds and sample them as we're scrolling through. as you can see, you can scroll through these and select sounds really quickly. So tapping Shift Exit to move back to our main screen. Let's take the scenario where you want to go find a string sound. All we've got to do is hold Shift, scroll our program wheel, hold down on category. We'll go to orchestral in this case. I let go of that and I have my orchestral sound. I can scroll through them. When I've selected, I want to pick full orchestra 2. I just tap Shift Exit and I can move back to my main program screen. So really quickly selecting programs again, if we have programs that we've organized, and we'll talk about that in a different video, but organizing them, we can have all of the songs for our set list set up here so I can just move through or use a pedal to move through my programs very quickly and allows me, as I'm playing, to not have to really do any menu diving. I have it all here on the panel. So programs are saved instances of everything we see here. Let's focus in on the piano section real quick here and talk about the layers as well as how to select different piano samples within our layers. So as I mentioned, we have 2 piano layers, 2 sample synth layers. There's 4 buttons under each layer right here, and we can turn these layers on and off with these buttons. To turn them on, just tap on it. To turn it off, hold it down, and that'll turn the layer off. If we want to turn on more than one layer at a time, just press the buttons together. So if I want all 4 of my layers on, I've just tapped on both of those. You'll notice we have some blinking lights here. So the red blinking light is our active layer, and this is the active layer not only for the section, but also for the effects. The green blinking light means it's not the active layer for the effects, but it is the layer that's active for this section. So for example, if I was active on my synth layer B, and then I wanted to change the timbre of my piano, this tells me that the timbre is going to get changed on layer A, not layer B, because layer A is blinking green. So again, I could tap on the layer A, that now is red blinking. My effects are now going to be changed for this layer. So just keep that in mind. Any layer you see blinking is the active layer, but the blinking red one is the fully active, the true active that our effects are following. So the effects, to that point, the effects apply to each layer individually, except for the global reverb. So the global reverb, the type and the settings for the reverb are global across all 4 layers, but the dry wet amount of the reverb can be set individually on each of our layers. The rest of them are individual for the layer unless you turn on the global function underneath the equalizer, delay, compression as well. The global reverb is global. So we have some options there. I'm going to talk more about the layer effects in a separate video because I really, in this video, I'm trying to give you a taste of how to get in, select, and use the different features of the Nord Piano 6. So focusing back on the piano section, let's turn off layer B by holding down on it. I'm going to turn off the sample synth layers by holding down on those, leaving us with one active layer, which is our piano. We have a lot of effects on here. We have the equalizer, delay, reverb, and this mod 2 effect. We can easily turn these on and off by tapping on the on-off buttons, and the lights go off. Could turn on, let's say, the delay. Turn that off, turn the reverb on. Let's leave that on for now. That's pretty nice. We could adjust the dry wet amount. We'll go with that. So back over here, let's say we wanted to change the sample for the piano we're hearing. Currently on the screen, it shows us this is the soft grand. To change the piano, we have this piano select. Now this is different than a program. Again, the program is a saved instance of everything. The piano select is the sample tied to this unique layer. So in my piano select, I have 6 categories that I could cycle through with this category select button. And then I can scroll between the samples, and you'll notice my screen changes to show the sample that I'm scrolling to. So let's say we want the white grand. We have some settings for our piano here, including octave up and down, as well as the ability to turn the sustain pedal or a volume pedal on and off for this particular layer. Everything we see for controls is going to be affecting the layer that we have active within this section. So in our case, layer A is going to be what's getting any adjustments here in the piano section. If we wanted to turn on layer B, we could tap on that, and now everything here is adjusting what's on layer B. So really easy. If we want to change a setting, just make sure you're on the right layer, tap on that layer button right there, and then change it, and you're good to go. We could, of course, change the volume of our layer. You'll notice the LED corresponds as I drag my physical fader up and down. And then we could also layer in some strings. Same rules apply here in the sample synth section. We have the octave up and downs. All of our settings here are affecting whatever layer is active in our sample synth section. And then the active layer, of course, we could change effects on here. Maybe we put mod 2. So that's how you use the layers. We're going to talk a lot more about the functions in here in a dedicated video on sample synths, on pianos. I'll be playing you more of those sounds and talking about some of the really cool features that we have within these sections that allow us to build out more detailed sounds and programs, whether we're playing at home, in the studio, or on stage. A lot of these functions lend themselves very well to live playing, both in church as well as a part of any other stage. In the center, we have functionality for our program. So again, I mentioned we can move through sounds with these buttons here. We have our split functionality. We can transpose very easily with this button here. And then we have our store button for saving programs to the keyboard, as well as renaming programs that we build inside the Nord Piano 6. In order to save sounds though, you have to make sure you turn Memory Protect off. So if we hold Shift and tap on the number 2 button, this is going to activate the label below the button. So anytime we need to access the label below a knob or a button, we can hold Shift and tap or scroll that wheel or button to access that function. So you'll see here that on page 1 of my system settings, I have this Memory Protect off. So I can turn this on or off. Make sure it's off if you want to save. So then we tap on Store. We can store this program to the memory. If we had Memory Protect turned on, we'd get a little error saying that we couldn't store. So that'll be important if you want to save anything you're doing. And that's pretty simple to do. All we have to do is tap Store, scroll to the location that we want to store a program to. Let's say we've built up a program we like. Come in and you'll notice that any empty slot is going to say empty. So if we scroll all the way, in my case, to this K bank, you'll see I've got some empty here starting at 14 all the way through. So I could save this program to this spot by just tapping again on Store. And now I've saved this to my K14 slot. If we make a change to this, maybe we change the effect rate. I can just double tap on Store and it saves it in place, just overwrites itself with the settings that I changed. So we've talked a little bit about the effects and how to turn them on and off. We have the adjustments for each effect here, as well as we can change the type of the effect by tapping on the appropriate type button within the effects unit that we're trying to change. We can also hold Shift and tap on the button to trigger various things like mono, control pedal, alternate tone, choral, pre-delay, things like that within our effects. Remember, anything under the button, we can access that by holding Shift. Right here in this little FX focus section, we have the effects on and off, so we could globally just turn our effects completely off with this button here. And you'll notice that as we move between our layers, we can see this LED follows the layer that's active. Again, the layer that's either blinking red or solid red over here in our sections. If we wanted to group, let's say we wanted the effects that we're changing to affect all of our sample synth, both layers, we could hold Shift and tap on Group, and you'll notice now my A and B lights are lit up, meaning all the effects that I'm changing here are going to affect the sample synth layers, both of them at the same time. And then Shift and tap on it again, I can go back to individual effects per layer. So just a handy function that we can group these together. We could also hold Shift and tap on the global, the on-off button here, let's say in the compressor, equalizer, or delay, to do global on this particular, which is going to take this setting and make it global across all 4 of our layers rather than individually. Now, before I wrap up this video, I wanted to show you one last really handy little function called Program Init. So let's say I want to build a brand new sound and I want to start from kind of a blank starting place. I can hold Shift and tap on this program button number 1, and it says Initialize Program. I'm going to tap on the 2 button, which corresponds to the OK. And that's going to bring me back to just a simple grand piano, no effects turned on. And then I can start building my sound from there. I can turn the amp on. And build my sound however I want, using that as a blank starting point. This isn't necessarily going to erase the program that I was on when I did Program Init unless I stored this over the program that was there to begin with. So what you'd want to do is do a Program Init. It doesn't really matter what program you're on. It's going to reset you back to this starting point, build your sound, and then store it to a new location instead of overwriting the program that was there before. And real quick, let's say that we wanted to rename this K14. I can hold Shift and tap on the Store button. That's going to bring me to my renaming screen where I can scroll the cursor to the letter I want to change, hold down on the button that corresponds to the soft button on the screen, such as ABC, and then scroll to the letter that I want to change it to, let go, and that is going to change that letter for me. I could do that with any one of these. I'm going to change this back to machine. Let's come all the way to the end and let's put a 2. And when I'm done, I tap on Store twice, and that now changed it to machine strings 2 rather than what was there before. So hopefully that's given you some context to just getting started quickly in the Nord Piano 6. Some really cool things we're going to look at in some future videos on the piano section, sample synth, the layer effects, and getting into the meat of the programs, building some splits, and using the live mode functionality here. But I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions around the Piano 6, throw those down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and keep making that music.